Hey guys, we are going to be taking a very quick look at Zombicide Green Horde, specifically everything that's new in Zombicide Green Horde. It is a companion game to Zombicide Black Plague, but it does stand on its own, so you don't need any other thing to play this game. The first thing that's new is pretty obvious, and that is the Green Horde themselves, the Orc Zombies. I'm actually going to do a completely separate video to take a close-up look at all the minis that come in Green Horde because I think they look so amazing, so stay tuned for that. They give you 65 Orc Zombie minis total, that's including the Towering Abomination and the Orc Necromancer there. They give you 5 different versions of the Walkers, and there's 7 copies of each mold for a total of 35 Walkers. You get 2 different versions of the Runners on the right, and you get 2 different versions of the Fatties on the left, and there are 14 of each of those. The biggest change that they make to the Orc Zombies in comparison to Black Plague is how much damage they inflict. So the Orc Walkers do 2 damage instead of just 1. And the Fatties now do 3 damage, which is enough to kill a survivor in 1 hit. The Runners, thankfully, still only do 1. And the Necromancer now does 2, same as the Walkers. So that can make the zombies a lot more dangerous. Here are the survivors. Again, I'm gonna do a closer up look in a separate video, so stay tuned for that, but they all look really cool. Here are the 6 survivor cards. The top 3 are the ones that have new abilities. Johann's, his starting ability is Transmutation. There was an enchantment in Wolfsburg, which is an expansion for Black Plague, that had Transmutation, and that's where you can discard a card in your inventory to then draw a new card from the item deck. So they just kind of took that enchantment and made it a character ability for Johann's. If you look at Rolf, in his red abilities, he has something called Battle Rage. Now this is where if you kill a zombie, on your next melee action during your turn, you actually get to roll 1 extra die. And if you kill a zombie on that action, your next action, on that turn, you get to roll another die. So you keep adding dice to your roll if you continue to kill zombies. On Megan, her starting ability is Double Casting, which is brand new. It only works on enchantments, but you can use 1 action to cast an enchantment on 2 different survivors that you have line of sight to. For something like healing, you can heal 2 different survivors that you have line of sight to, and it's really useful. Here are all the new starting weapons. The bottom row are all short swords, which we've seen before, but the top row are all brand new items to Green Horde. On the left is Telekinetic Blast, which says, spend an action. Open a door within range and line of sight, so you don't have to roll to open doors. The Spiked Bow is a ranged weapon, but it can also do melee combat, which is why it has 2 rows of stats on the bottom of the card. The North Sword is the only starting weapon that does 2 damage, and they introduced something new in Green Horde that I think is really interesting on the North Sword. It says, gain +2 dice if North's Shield is also equipped. These are all of the new items to Green Horde, and we're gonna go through and look at them close up, a group at a time. If you wanna look through all of them, you can pause the video, but I'm just gonna go through and pick out the ones that I really like. So in the middle here, you see the North Sword and the North Shield. Now what they do in Green Horde that is new is they pair up items like this to give you extra bonuses and boosts in your attack. So the North Sword says, gain +2 dice if North's Shield is also equipped. And North's Shield says add +1 die to another equipped melee weapon. You go from rolling 1 die to rolling 4 dice. So I like how they pair up themed items like that. On the left are 2 more starting weapons that they include in the item deck. And on the right, you have another interesting pairing of items that give you a bonus. Scimitar reads, gain +1 die if Curved Dagger is also equipped. And Curved Dagger reads, add 1 die to another equipped melee weapon. So if you have the Scimitar, you go from rolling 2 dice, and then you get the Curved Dagger, you would add 2 more dice for a total of 4. Here are the new spells and enchantments. On the left are Tremor, which knocks all the zombies down in a zone, and they have to spend their entire activation standing up, and they can't move. So that's a really good way to stop zombies from moving. Ghost Sight reads, the targeted survivor can trace lines of sight and attack through obstacles like closed doors, walls, and hedges during this game round. That can be incredibly useful. One of the best things about Green Horde is that they actually give you a bunch of new vault weapons. They give you 6 total, and here's the first 3. On the left is Bone Sword, which reads, gain +2 dice if Bone Kukri is also equipped. And on the right, Bone Kukri reads, add 1 damage to another equipped melee weapon. So if you can get both of those, you're rolling 4 dice and you're doing 2 damage, which is amazing. Here's the other 3. I think the standout vault weapon is Lava Burst. Roll 6. The target zone is subject to a dragon fire effect instead. So if you're rolling your 3 dice on Lava Burst and one of those lands on a 6, the zone that you are attacking bursts into a dragon fire and everything in that zone dies instantly and you get all that experience points. It's incredibly powerful. You do have to be in the orange experience level to be able to use it. What's interesting is that there aren't actually vaults in Green Horde, so they find new interesting ways to get you the vault weapons, and it varies from quest to quest. Of course, no item deck would be complete without the Orc Walker card. I just think it's interesting because it's essentially the same exact thing from Black Plague, but they made the hand green because it's an orc, and so I thought that was pretty funny. Here are all the items that are in Green Horde but aren't really new. They've been seen before in Black Plague or even Wolfsburg. So you can pause the video and look at these if you want, but we're gonna keep moving. Here are the new zombie cards. If you look in the middle there, it says Assemble the Horde, and this looks just like it does in Black Plague, except on the left, there's those little green +1. So whenever you spawn a zombie, like at the bottom it says Orc Walker, you would add one of the same type of zombie, a walker, to the Horde. Now the Horde is off the board to the side, and it just builds up. On the left, on the Necromancer, when he spawns, it's basically the same as it was in Black Plague, except you spawn an Orc Walker, an Orc Fatty, and a Runner to the Horde. So you put all 3 of those to the Horde every time you pull out this Orc Necromancer card. Then, the right card says Enter the Horde. You take all of those zombies that have been piling up in the Horde off the board, and you put them on whatever spawn zone you're on when you draw the Enter the Horde card, and it's awful. Here are all the game components that come with Green Horde, most of which you recognize because they're exactly the same. The only thing that is new are the hedges on the right here and the barricades on the left. Of course, they give you some unique looking Orc Necromancer spawn tokens. Now I wanted to get into some of the new rules, one of which are the hedges, and you see a lot of these in Green Horde. They're all over the place. What's new about them is that you can't see through them. You don't have line of sight, and neither do the zombies. So in this scenario, all the noise is at the bottom right corner with those 2 survivors and that 1 noise token. Even though Megan there in the purple is right next to that little group of zombies, the zombies move towards the most noise because they can't see anybody. So they actually move south. And this guy over here would move east. So this creates all sorts of new interesting movement patterns for yourself and the orcs. The tough part is that you actually can't shoot through the hedges either. Let's say Megan wants to come down here and attack this fatty. Well, when she goes through a hedge that nobody has line of sight to the other side, you don't know if there's a walker there. So what you do is you roll the die. If you roll a 1, you spawn a walker in the zone that you just entered. Now you only do this when no survivors have line of sight to the other side of the hedge, but it can make your movements a little bit more risky. A new terrain piece to Green Horde are water zones. Now water zones make it more difficult to move. It takes 2 actions to move out of a water zone. If you go from a water zone to a water zone, that's 2 actions. But moving from a water zone through the shore onto land is only 1 action, because there's a little break in the water there. If you want to go up through this hedge onto what they call a ledge, that still costs 2 actions. Let's say Johans wants to end his turn right here. Now the zombies can move through water easily, but they can't go up onto ledges. So they wouldn't be able to get him directly. They have to go up onto the shore, which again adds really interesting movement pieces to the zombies and the survivors. To help you battle the Horde, they have introduced what's called a Trebuchet, and you can use this to fight against the Horde or most of the zombies on the board. So it reads, target zone at 2+ or the Horde, which is off the board. No line of sight required, but accuracy 3+ if any survivor has line of sight to the target zone. 3 actions to fire or move 1 zone. So it uses up a lot of actions to shoot, but if you look there at the bottom, you have 3 different options for shots that you can take. The scatter shot, you roll 6 dice. It's a 4+, but it only does 1 damage. The grape shot only rolls 3 dice, but it does 2 damage and can kill fatties. The boulder, you only roll 1 die, but it does 3 damage, which can kill the abomination, so that can be incredibly useful. You still do the targeting priority, so if there's a bunch of zombies and you do the scatter shot, you're only going to be able to kill walkers because the fatties take 2 damage to kill and you won't be able to kill them with a scatter shot. You can't shoot into a zone that is adjacent to the trebuchet. It has to be 2 zones away or further. So I can't hit these 2 fatties, but I can hit this big group of zombies down here, which has 4 walkers, 2 fatties, and 2 runners. So if I do the scatter shot, 6 dice, but I can only kill the walkers because the fatties interrupt the priority order and prevent me from hitting the runners, which is the same as it is in Black Plague. Green Horde includes 9 double-sided tiles. These sides have a lot of hedges and a lot of water, as you can see. On the reverse sides of all of them, there's some hedges and some water, but there's also some that don't have either of those. So there's a lot of variety and options to mix and match things and create your own unique scenarios, as well as a lot of variety in the quests that come with Green Horde. Well, that's everything new in Zombicide Green Horde. I hope it was an insightful look to maybe help you decide whether it's something you want to get or not. Next, I'm going to be taking an extremely close-up look at all the minis that come in Green Horde, the survivors and the Orc Zombies, as well as the Trebuchet. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and thank you guys so much for watching.